try again. Good afternoon. It's Sunday, July 5th, 2020, and coming to you live from the Lonely Tree Media Studios in beautiful Ellensburg, Washington. It's the Best Lamm Sports Show, 4th of July Spectacular. I'm your host, David Lamm, and with me, as always, my son, Parker. Say hello, Parker.
Hello, everybody.
We're streaming live on YouTube every weekend. We're on Twitter at Lamm Sports, on Facebook, The Best Lamm Sports Show. You can send us an email, lambsports@gmail.com, and please check out the new webpage, www.lambsports.com. It's work in progress, but it will eventually be your one-stop shop for all things related to the show. So, as always, the first part of our show is sponsored by The Range in Yakima. At 34,000 square feet, The Range is an all-inclusive facility offering firearm training, retail firearm sales and supplies, full gunsmithing and repairs, custom builds, and Cerakote services all under one roof. Open Tuesday to Sunday, 11 to 7. Go see our friends at The Range, 1701 Garrettson Lane in Yakima. Phone numbers 509-571-1449. The Range, educate, equip, and empower. So, Parker, happy 4th of July.
Happy 4th of July to you.
So, what did you do yesterday? Did you see fireworks?
Best I could. We didn't shoot any off, but, this is America, so every house around me decided to.
It does seem like that, does it not?
So I definitely saw fireworks, but they were not by my doing. Now, there was, I was down in Lebanon with Cassie, my wife, and we saw the fireworks from Cheadle Lake or something like that. They were pretty high up there. We could see a bunch of those really big ones. And then, of course, this is rural Oregon, so everyone there had gone up to Vancouver to pick up their big packs of fireworks. So I didn't realize that Oregon had limits on how high fireworks could go.
Yeah, that's a real thing. They don't want them flying or going too far or getting out of hand.
It doesn't stop anybody from driving an extra 30 minutes across the border and grabbing a whole bunch and bringing them right back over here.
Yeah, and I'm sure that no one actually, I'm sure that no one actually ever gets in trouble for it. I mean, somebody probably gets pulled over every once in a while if they know they've got fireworks. I'm sure that there's somebody trying to check it out, but for the most part, I really don't think that's a thing.
I don't think it's illegal to have them here. So, like, if you bought them, let's say a police officer watched you walk in and buy them and then drive back across to Oregon, I don't think that's a problem. I think the problem is once you shoot them off. So the officer should have to not only follow you from the place of buying them and then just watch you until you finally set it off.
It's not the possession, it's the actual use, you think?
I think it's the use. I think you're not allowed to use them. I don't think having them is an issue.
That's a whole different blog we need to talk about, a whole different podcast laws.
Firework legality.
Laws. Yeah, firework.
I would love to be a lawyer and be like, I specialize in firework law.
And I laugh now, but there's probably a guy who does that.
There is, and he's got a billboard somewhere.
Right, I'm sure he does. So
find yourself in an explosive situation.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. Our team will sparkle for you. Anyway, we 4th of July. Not a lot of sports happen on the 4th of July because there's not a lot of sports going on. But baseball and Wimbledon are probably the two most major things you'd find on or around the 4th of July. And I've come up with a couple of clips that we're going to play. There's 3 of them throughout the show. I'm going to start with one major, memorable sporting event that happened on the 4th of July. And I want everybody to take a listen to this. You'll recognize it when you hear it.
Today, I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth.
So that was Lou Gehrig and his famous speech on his appreciation day at Yankee Stadium. He was the first MLB player to ever have his number retired, his number 4. That's going to lead us into our trivia question, but Lou Gehrig was one of the all-time greats. Yes?
I mean, I never saw him play.
Oh, well.
He seems like a great, and he seems pretty well established, but, he was before my time.
The man had 493 home runs and hit 340 for his career. Behind Babe Ruth, which helped him out a lot.
But this was at a time when, you could drink every night, whiskey every night, and smoke in the dugout. You were hitting dingers off those dudes.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, it wasn't Kershaw throwing a throwing a
on.
sinker at you.
Yeah, but the guys hitting the dingers were also drinking every night.
That is
So,
very true.
I
It was an
mean,
equal playing field.
right. I mean,
Everyone was equally hungover or
sure,
drunk.
sure. And I'm not saying that doesn't go on now. Um,
It's just
just
chewing tobacco now.
it's it's hard to say that that's not a real thing. Anyway, so that's going to lead us into our trivia question because the trivia question is about Lou Gehrig. So, trivia question brought to you by Stave and Stone Wine Estates in Hood River. Stave and Stone Wine Estates, the winery at Broken Boulder Vineyard is open from 12 to 6 Wednesday through Monday. Head out there and join them for a relaxing glass on the patio with stunning views of Mount Adams. The downtown tasting room is also open Thursday through Sunday from 12 to 6. The Vineyard tasting room is at 3827 Fletcher Drive. The downtown address is 210 Oak Street. To find out more or order wine, go to stavenstone.com, email them info@stavenstone.com, or call 541-946-3750. That's 541-WINE-750. Stave and Stone, wines with personality. So the trivia question is a two-parter today. And I think everyone knows the first half, but I don't think they know the second half. So I said it was going to be about Lou Gehrig, and we just heard the quote from Lou Gehrig. Today I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth. Trivia question is this. Who did Lou Gehrig replace at first base for the Yankees in 1925? And who replaced him when he retired in 1939? The man played 2,130 consecutive games at first base for the Yankees. And for those of you that are counting, that's about 14 seasons. Didn't miss a game, and that record stood for 56 years until Cal Ripken broke it in 1995. So, two-part question. Who did he replace at first base? And who replaced him at first base 14 years later? So,
Ooh.
you got the answer already?
No,
Okay, good.
not even. I have a guess, but not even.
I thought this one was going to be a little tougher because the first person, the guy he replaced, is kind of, you hear about it all the time, but you don't necessarily hear about the guy that replaced him when he retired. So, anyway, two-part question. It's out there. All right, we're going to give you the answer at the end of the show, right? And so let's go to today's news and notes. How about that? Does that sound like fun?
It sounds like it could be a blast.
Okay, here's what we're going to do. So the PGA Tour is playing right now the Rocket Mortgage Classic at Detroit Golf Club. It's the final rounds underway. Matthew Wolff was the leader after 3 rounds at minus 19. Your current leader is Bryson DeChambeau at 20 under. So that is on CBS right now if you want to go watch it. They're in the final round. Looks like DeChambeau is through 9 holes, so there's about 9 holes left, a couple hours left to watch. We had, let's see, I got my notes all in a twist here. Hold on just a second. We have NASCAR, the Brickyard 400 at Indianapolis Motor Speedway is today on NBC. That starts anytime now if it hasn't already. Joey Logano is in the pole position for this race. This kind of has been overshadowed by the fact that 7-time NASCAR champion Jimmy Johnson has tested positive for the coronavirus and will miss today's race. He started 663 consecutive Cup Series races to this point.
Whew.
Yeah, I mean, that is an Ironman, basically. We're talking about Ironman all day, apparently, and that's Lou Gehrig.
That is a lot of left-hand turns.
That is a lot of left-hand turns. Anyway, but they're racing right now. They just got underway. And again, that's on NBC if you want to watch it. So the Korean Baseball League is still playing. We talk about Korean baseball every week. We're not going to stop because the NC Dinos are still in first place. At 36-16, they're 4 games ahead of the Kiwoom Heroes and 5.5 ahead of the Doosan Bears. The Dinos took 2 of 3 from the Kia Tigers over the weekend after splitting 4 games with the Lotte Giants. Kiwoom has gone 11-4 over the last couple of weeks and had closed the gap to 1.5 games on June 17th. Those games are on ESPN at about 2 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time if you want to watch one. If you got nothing else to do, it is kind of interesting to watch. If you haven't watched one of the games and listened to the announcers who don't hardly ever talk about the baseball game itself, they are talking about everything but baseball.
Well, I mean, that's what makes baseball entertaining is listening to the announcers talk about other stuff.
It is, and those guys get off topic fast. It's pretty impressive, I have to admit. So the National Women's Soccer League, the Challenge Cup, goes on at Zions Bank Stadium in Harriman, Utah. The North Carolina Courage, the only team to win their first 3 games, as they defeated the Portland Thorns in stoppage time 2-1 on Saturday the 27th. They beat the Washington Spirit 2-0 on Wednesday. and they just defeated the Chicago Red Stars 1-0 today. The Thorns will play the Washington Spirit tonight at 7 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Those games can be seen on CBS All Access. The Thorns lost that first game to North Carolina, then they tied the Chicago Red Stars 0-0. So they've only scored one goal in this tournament in the first two games. They need a win tonight. So the English Premier League just wrapped up, and well, it didn't wrap up. They're still playing games, but the title is decided. Liverpool clinched the English Premier League title on June 25th when Chelsea beat Manchester City 2-1. It marked Liverpool's first title since 1990. The Reds won again today. They beat Aston Villa 2-0. They try to go for an undefeated season at home this year, and it's only happened a few times. So they're chasing a little bit of history there in Liverpool. So, all that to say, soccer was the first team sport coming back. They're missing a team. The National Women's Soccer League is missing the Orlando team. They actually aren't playing because of the players testing positive for COVID. And I think that's kind of overshadowing our whole show. This is another COVID show because aren't they all at this point?
Yeah, pretty much. You can't get away from it.
You really can't, because it just keeps popping up, and it begs the question: Are we pushing things too fast, and not just the restart where you see all these states that are having increased cases and largest number of cases, blah 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 blah, and you're also seeing it in the sports where they're pushing to get back out there, and this isn't going away, and they're still forging ahead now, and there's positive tests, and we knew there were going to be positive tests, and we're still okay with that. And when an entire team has to bow out, that creates quite a interesting...
Chooses to bow out.
Well, I think there was enough positive tests that they
decided it was a better safe than sorry type situation.
Right, determined that we could go play, but we'd be down 4, 5, 6 people.
You're still choosing. I mean,
I'm
not saying, like, some people will feel like that decision's being taken away from them by COVID. No, you're still choosing. I mean, yes, you could field a crap team of your last 9 people or 10 people or whatever, but you don't have to do that. You can easily not to. I'm not faulting them for choosing to do it. I'm just saying that it is a choice. There are other teams out there that are going to play down important people because they want to.
To be fair, I don't know for sure if that was an NWSL decision or the Orlando team decision for them not to play.
As far as I'd heard, it was the team decided that they would not participate. So
okay.
But
yeah, well then,
that's upper management saying, this is not worth the risk. But it sucks, but it's a reality we live in. They gotta, if you ever want to play sports again in the next 2-3 years, this will be something you have to face.
Yeah, it's out there. I mean, it's not going away. We're not gonna just get rid of it. And contrary to what somebody else might tell you, it's not just gonna fade away and be gone. It's gonna be here for a while. And unless we are proactive, hey, wash your hands, wear that mask. Here in Washington State, we're required to wear a mask when we go out, into a public space indoors, or if you're going to be near other people, even outside. So I think that's the right thing to do. I don't know, but that's just what I say. Every time I go out, I go to the grocery store, I sanitize up before I go in. I hand sanitize when I come out. I wear the mask the entire time. I try to avoid people. If there's an aisle that's busy and it's got 6 or 7 people in it, I just go to another aisle and get what I can, and then wait for that one to die out a little bit.
It's funny. I was doing that long before.
Yeah, well, that's because we don't like people, but that's a whole nother.
A whole nother bag of issues.
I don't like grocery shoppers just in general, but that's whatever. Anyway.
See, no, real quick side tangent. There are grocery shoppers and there are people that go to the grocery store. I'm a person that goes to the grocery store because I need some things, and I go in there and I get the things and I leave. And then there are grocery shoppers who shop at a grocery store as if they were browsing the racks at a Gap. Everything needs to be touched and looked at and inspected, and it's a process. Those people are ruined grocery shopping for me.
Those people, boy,
those people, you know who you are, Mom.
To be fair, your mom's not nearly as bad as a lot of the people that I run into.
She could be worse. She's about sick of people too. So
well, that's true. We're not, we like the people that we like, and there's other people out there, and they ruin it. They ruin the good name of the good people.
That's right.
Yeah. It's just like anything, that one guy who used the hairdryer in the bathtub, and now none of us can because we got that damn warning on the hairdryer.
That's why those hairdryer cables are so short now.
Ruining it for everyone. I mean, I was planning on that. Anyway, so so we're going to go to the second half of the show, and the second half of the show is brought to you by Boss Kitty Hand-Dyed Yarns. Go to BossKittyShop.com for your yarns, notions, and Boss Kitty merchandise, or pick up a BossKittyShop.com gift card. As a special treat for our listeners, they're offering a one-time use coupon for 15% off your next purchase. Just use the coupon code LAMBSPORTS at checkout. That's BossKittyShop.com. Boss Kitty, yarn so boss, you'll knit your pants. So, brings us to some interesting topics that we want to talk about, and the very first one, we're going to play another little clip, something that happened on the 4th of July. This one's not as uplifting as you'd like it to be, but on July 4th, 2009, Steve McNair was fatally shot by his mistress Sahel Kazemi in an apparent murder-suicide.
Former NFL quarterback Steve McNair was found shot to death in a condominium complex in Nashville Saturday.
When police officers arrived in response to that call, they found 2 individuals who had been shot to death inside the residence. 1 female, 1 male. We now know that the male deceased is Steve McNair.
So it was not his wife, Michelle. It was a mistress. To come to find out that they'd had a relationship for a long period of time. Steve McNair was a 3-time Pro Bowler, NFL MVP in 2003, and he led the Titans to Super Bowl 34 against the Rams at the end of the 1999 season. I remember when this happened. We were in Tennessee, living in Tennessee when this happened. And it was such a huge news story in Tennessee. It was such a scandal when it came out. And do you remember it?
I remember it a little bit. I remember there was a whole bunch of chaos involving Steve McNair over a real fast period of time.
Yes.
And it all culminated in this. And I remember hearing about it, but it was around the same time that Chris Johnson was being a crazy person for the Titans as well and things like that. So I just remember kind of writing off the little things that I had heard until one day it was oh yeah, he's passed away. I'm like, whoa, that's a little more serious.
Yeah, I mean it was a big deal. 2 days before the murder suicide, they had pulled over. Kazemi was driving a car. She was under the influence. Steve McNair was a passenger in that car. There was 2 other people in the car, McNair and a chef at a restaurant that I think Steve McNair owned. I could be wrong. Long story short, they pulled him over. She was arrested for DUI, and while she's in the police car, he's out. Steve McNair gets out of the vehicle and gets into a cab and goes away without talking to her. So at that point, you knew something was up, and that was all over the news. That was like a big deal. Oh my gosh, what is this? And who is he with? And what happened? And then you're right. 2 days later, while everybody's trying to figure out what was going on with the relationship between these two, they find him and her at a condominium that he purchased for her to stay in near the stadium, and they find them both dead. And it was all over the news in Tennessee. That was the biggest thing. Steve McNair is a hero in Tennessee. So
yeah, he was a pretty big deal around there.
Yeah, he was a Walter Payton Award finalist. He was a Heisman Trophy finalist from Alcorn State when he was in college. He was, it's Air McNair, and he was one of the best quarterbacks. He has 3,600 career rushing yards.
That's it?
Well, 3,600 is pretty good for a quarterback. I mean, let's be honest. So, how many does Peyton Manning have?
12.
Maybe.
That's because the sacks count against your rushing totals.
I don't know.
He's got 12. That one bootleg against Dallas, that was 10 of them. So
that got him where he is today.
That got him where he is, and I'm pretty sure he's in a couple 4th and inch, type dives. So
sure. All right, so that brings us into the NFL. So on that note, we're going to talk about the Washington Redskins, who who are looking into changing their name. The name Redskins has been the center of criticism for years, and Daniel Snyder, the team's owner, has always been steadfastly against changing the team's name. The team released a statement on Friday, which I'm going to read a part of to you as soon as I have it pulled up. Released a statement on Friday announcing a thorough review on the team's name. And it says, basically, in light of recent events around our country and feedback from our community, the Washington Redskins are announcing the team will undergo a thorough review of the team's name. This review formalizes the initial discussions the team has been having with the league in recent weeks.
Sounds well put.
That's a press guy. That guy went to school for that. That's exactly, or girl. But that person went to school for that, and that's exactly, it's well said. It doesn't say anything without saying everything. You know what I mean? It says something, but anyway, long story short, I understand tradition and loyalty probably better than a lot of people. I get it. I understand it. They've been the Redskins as long as I've been alive, right? So, it's always been somewhat controversial, maybe more so in recent memory. But do you think, why did it take so long to get the name to change, to get them even look at changing it?
Well, because the players are never behind it. Like Dan Snyder's, he's an idiot. He's been an idiot for a very long time. Him and Jerry Jones run the idiot club at the top of the NFL, and in their little club, they won't do anything until the players threaten him. Jerry Jones would not change his tune about things until his players step up to him. And then he's like, oh, well, okay, we can do some stuff. And so that's what's happening. A bunch of the players for the Redskins are, have posted their, feelings on social media and things like that about, hey, we don't like the name. We're not a fan of it. It should change. And now he's like, well, okay, well, I guess if I can't feel the team, then I probably should at least look at changing the name now. But before, nobody cared. None of the players cared enough to do anything about it. People have been reacting about it for many, many years, but none of the players would ever stand behind it. Players are always about the paycheck. I think players are getting a little less about the paycheck right now.
Yeah. Do you think that it was completely money driven because the sponsors have been the ones that have been pulling out and saying, Nike, we're not going to sell any of your merchandise. We're disassociating ourselves, and FedEx even telling them, hey, we bought the rights to name the stadium. We want you to change the name of the team.
Right.
I feel like it's probably more money driven than it is anything else. And a bigger question, this is the most, I don't care that they're changing the team name. Great. What are they going to change it to? Is my question.
Man, something good.
And you got a suggestion?
Something good. I saw was it the Washington Aviators? I thought that was a pretty good one.
The Aviators.
Yeah, I thought that was a pretty nice looking one. And I think they should change their color scheme while they're at too. It's crap. All right, burgundy and yellow is a crap color scheme. we should all move on from that. And guess what? There's not a lot of there's a couple green teams in the league, but there's not a lot of green teams. We could use more green, right? There's a couple blue teams. I don't want to go blue. Purple's good. Yeah, I go with green. Yeah, pick a different color. Go with green. Or just go straight red, white, and blue. You're in DC, might as well. But I mean, then you're competing. There's 1,000 red, white, and blue teams. But yeah, the Aviators is a good one. Oh my gosh, you can't go anything too aggressively military. So you don't want to call yourself like the battleships or something like that. You don't want to do that. There's a lot of naval ships out there.
Didn't even know that was an option. And then if you do have battleships, your uniforms have to be gray, so you're limited. Your options.
No, gray's your alternate. You just opened up.
The actual battleship uniform is just gray. I don't know. I feel like they're going to change it to something that has red in the title. You know what I mean?
Think so?
Red Hawks. Miami of Ohio. There's precedence because Miami of Ohio did the same thing. They were the Redskins, and they changed to the Red Hawks. And it's an easy change to make because you're still keeping part of your thing. You can still keep your colors. You could still keep everything. You just change the logo. I don't know. There's a lot of options out there, I guess. They could change it to anything. And yeah, you'd think it'd be something DC related, but the only safe thing to change things to right now is animals, and I don't know any native DC animals. So
yeah, you call them I read one earlier. It was the Americans.
The Americans. Yeah.
The DC Americans were the generals. You can always go Warriors. We talked about that earlier. You have Warrior stuff. Red Tails is a good one. That was one that was related to aviators.
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
there's a lot out there. There's a lot of good ones.
Yeah, there are. I think there could you could change it to just about anything, but you don't like the burgundy and yellow, really?
God no, it doesn't look good on anybody, and especially when there were those throwbacks with like that kind of off beige and red. Like it's just not a great color scheme.
Well, let's be
The
honest.
burgundy and white looks good. The yellow with maybe another like slightly louder color would look good, but just I'm just not a fan. I'm just not a fan.
Let's just be honest and say that nobody's throwback uniforms look great.
The Broncos.
Okay, whatever.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
spoken like a true Bronco fan. So
The Broncos throwback. You know, I'll even go better one then. Since you're going to throw the Broncos thing, I mean, the Raiders throwback uniforms look good. It's because they haven't changed.
Yeah, they've been the same since the get go. So
That's my point, though, is that there are teams out there that have them. Even the Bucks throwbacks with the creamsicles, they're not great, and they definitely are a little dated. Yeah, but they look good. The Dolphins throwback uniforms look pretty good. But you know, the Steelers throwback uniforms, the Packers throwback uniforms,
the Bears.
Like the older the team is, the more likely to have a crap uniform at some point.
Well, that's true. Well, yeah, because you're throwing it back to the 20s or the 30s or whenever they became a
They used what
team.
material they had,
right? Yeah,
and all we had was bland brown. So that's what we're gonna wear.
Yeah. Well, what are our color options? Well, we got black, we got brown, we got tan, we got white, we got gray. Which ones do you want?
They don't have white. You're not gonna put white on these players because you can't wash them all the time.
Well, that's true. Back in the day.
That's right. Actually, by the way, that's why they used to wear dark colors. It's that way you didn't have to wash them.
Yeah,
that's why road teams wear dark colors in baseball. Is because they didn't always have access to washing their clothes, so they would wear the darker colors. They could wear them a couple times over and over again.
So there's baseball history for everyone.
There's a little baseball history, but then the NFL is like, no, we're not doing that. White on the road.
And I never understood why the NFL is different, why it's backwards, right?
The NBA is white at home, dark on the road. MLB is white at home, dark on the road.
Everybody's white at home except the NFL. You wear the dark jersey at home, and I never understood why they're different. Except for the Dallas Cowboys.
Because it's the NFL. Yeah, except for the Cowboys.
The Cowboys almost always wear white at home because they're the good guys, quote unquote.
Well, back in the day, the Chargers used to wear white at home too.
No, they were blue. They were the.
I'm telling you right now, it was a thing. I read it on the internet that back in the day, the Chargers. There's like 2-3 years there where the Chargers, like right around the time when they first started, that they wore white at home because it was so hot. And
that could be because of the temperature. Yeah.
And the internet doesn't lie.
Well, yeah, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm sure that's a Wikipedia gem you pulled out there.
Something like
So that leads us to a whole bunch of other questions. So the Cleveland Indians, who are also discussing doing that same thing, changing their name, and is the name Indians? It's offensive. Is it okay? Here's a question for you. Is it as offensive as Redskins?
I said this earlier. I used this analogy earlier. It's just calling somebody the wrong thing, which, if you do it once, is a mistake. If you do it 2 times, maybe you're just bad with names. After that, you're being a little disrespectful. And if you continue to do it over the course of, 60, 70 years, yeah, you're being very disrespectful. I wouldn't say that if you're first time saying the 2 things, no, I would say that Redskins is derogatory. Indians is a mistake. But the mistake can become an insult, whereas the other one just always was an insult. So, and for those of you who don't know, the reason why they're called the Indians, the reason why Native Americans are called Indians altogether is because when people first landed on this continent, they thought they were dealing with people in India. They did not think they did not know where the hell they were. So they thought they were looking at Indian people.
Just confused travelers. That's what you have.
Just confused travelers who didn't have GPS.
I mean, I've done that. Who hasn't gone? What airport is this? Anyway, so I mean, I get it. And on a ship, all you saw was ocean. Next thing you know, you're on land. Who knows where you are, right? There's only like one guy on the boat who probably knew at that point.
And even then, he said he knew, but he
Yeah.
didn't know.
Yeah. Oh, I know where we are. This is Indiana. Anyway,
Oh, does Indiana need to change their name too?
right. Hey, there's another
Ugh.
thing. Oh, I don't get it. All right. So, and then that begs the question. So if those two, what about the Chiefs? Kansas City Chiefs, Atlanta Braves. How do we feel about those?
Those are tough ones. That's where you start getting out of offensive, I think, directly offensive, and into, is somebody going to take offense to it? Right. And that's a very different conversation. But when we were talking about this episode, we were talking about trying to figure out how are we going to criteria this out. My criteria was, well, you just have to ask the group that in question you might be offending, and if they say no, this is fine, this is good. If you ask about the Chiefs, then you need to change it. If they say no, then you're good. I'm pretty sure they're all going to vote to change Indians and Redskins. I think Braves could get changed. I could see them being like, we don't like being associated with a specific aspect of like war or something like that. But Seminoles, Blackhawks, Chiefs, I'm not 100% sure if they're all going to, if people from those tribes or if the Native American community as a whole is going to be taking offense to those phrasings. I think it's only offensive when you pair it with, offensive logos or offensive acts or offensive gestures and things like that. The Seminoles are one of the biggest ones that they're society in Florida. Like, they are heavily involved. So I couldn't see a reason to be upset with them, except for maybe the guy, riding out on the horse and throwing the spear into the ground. You know what I mean? You might be able to find some offense to that.
So a lot of those teams are trying to eliminate the tomahawk chop that you get from the crowd. And University of Florida has decided they're going to get rid of the gator chomp.
I get it. They should just get rid of University of Florida.
Well, that's a whole
nother topic.
That's a different show entirely. But yeah, I feel like all of this is happening all of a sudden, and nobody, 6 months ago, nobody was even thinking about any of this happening, any changes like this happening. And now all of a sudden everything is boom. And there's a lot being thrown at you, and there's a lot of things that people want to change. And, now's the time, I guess. If you're going to do it, let's all do it all at once. That way we can get used to it all. Because I'd hate for everything to start changing, like every month have a different thing change for like a couple of years. I want to get it all over with at once. Let's change all the dang things so that I can get used to calling you whatever it is I'm going to call you. Red Tails, Red Hawks, Aviators, whatever. I have time before the NFL season starts, I guess, to get used to it. But it just, the changing of names back and forth, I don't know. The changing of names in general is hard to do, because all that. And now what becomes of all your Redskin merchandise? Is that now valuable later because they don't do that anymore? They're no longer the Redskins. I mean, it becomes a old-timey, vintage jersey from 1983.
When the team that you support changes their name because they deem it to be insensitive or racist or whatever, and you still say, no, I'm going to wear it, that says more about you.
Right.
It says more about how you feel about racism or offensive things, that you don't care because you don't want it to impact your life. And that's fine. But it'll help us weed out who those people are.
But there's an issue that goes on with that. So when the football season opens up, let's assume that the NFL season opens up on time. And I think that's a big assumption right now. But let's assume it opens up on time and we have day one on day one. That first Sunday, well, it won't be Sunday. I guess they're playing on Thursday or whenever they're playing. But anyway, the first weekend, the Redskins are going to come out and play, maybe with a new name, maybe not. We don't know. Assuming they come out with a new name to play, all those people in the stands are still be wearing Redskins merchandise.
Yeah, and it's tough because what you're asking people to do is to stop wearing the stuff that you had purchased and go purchase new stuff. But again, your ask is bigger than money. It's more about respectfulness and decency, and it's whether people or not care about that enough to spend $30 on a new T-shirt and just wear the T-shirt to the game, or $20 on a new hat and spend it and wear the new hat to the game or something like that. Yes, the jerseys and stuff. I don't think they're going to change the name this year. I think it'll be next year. I think they'll announce the name change this year, but I don't think it's actually going to go away.
So that leads us to a couple of other tangents in terms of naming teams, but there are a few teams that have actual Native American tribe
Right.
nicknames. The Chicago Blackhawks, college, the Florida State
Seminoles.
Seminoles, the Utah Utes. These are
Yep.
all official, tribe names. Um, do you think that that's something that would have to change too, or that there'll be a call to change it, or you think that people are pretty okay with it? And that's the question. I guess we don't have the right panel here to ask because,
Right. It's not. It's
right.
not our decision to change it. It's
Although
not. It's not up to us. It doesn't offend us.
although both of us are part Native American, so
Right. Right. But I'm. I don't think I'm Ute, Seminole, or
no,
Blackhawk. So I
no,
think I'll
you're
be.
not.
I don't think. I don't think I have a voice in those arguments.
You don't.
But if
No.
there was a Senecan, man,
Yeah.
I'd be shouting. But
Yeah,
there's
well,
not.
I don't. I wouldn't really offend me. I guess so.
I don't think that those ones are going to need to change unless those communities don't like it, don't like they're either being represented by the schools and stuff like that. But elsewise, I don't see a problem with naming to honor, a community or honor a culture or a group. I don't see a problem with that. It's just whether or not that community, culture, or group decides that they don't like it. If they
Right.
don't like it, then yeah, you need to change. If the Seminole community comes out and says, yeah, Florida State's ever since Jameis Winston, they've been misrepresenting us, they've been making us look bad, they've been making our name look bad. And when you type in Seminole on the computer, the first thing that pops up is the Florida State website, not us, and that's wrong. We want them gone. Then you need to do it. You need to change it. It's just that simple. Become
Okay.
the Florida State Swamp Rats.
And then you get into the one that I brought up earlier, which is the Texas Rangers.
Yeah, that's an interesting one.
That's a law enforcement reference and not a Native American reference. That's a whole social justice. Is the if you had a team out there that was called the police or the Seattle SWAT, they'd probably be in trouble. They'd probably have to change their name. You know what I mean? Just because. And I think that now that I don't know how they feel about the Texas Rangers, but that's a long time law enforcement organization and it's historical in Texas. Is it bad or offensive? I don't know. That's a question.
No, I don't. I don't think so. I think it's a. I don't think that Rangers inherently is offensive. However, the Texas Rangers were a group of people that had been notorious for doing some less than reputable things.
Yeah.
So that might be where you kind of dig into, all right, their history. It's a law enforcement organization, so it's not like it's a true culture, even though I would argue that law enforcement is a culture almost. But it's not inherently offensive, but the actions of this group that you're honoring might have been offensive, from time to time. I've read things about the Rangers, killing innocent people and things like that back in, a long time ago. So I could easily see somebody calling for a change to it. And I think there is a little bit of a buzz to change it, but I don't think it's strong enough of one yet.
Yeah, I think it would take a massive push to get to change that. I'm not sure that there's going to be enough of an uproar over people. And does anyone care about Major League Baseball enough or that enough to say we don't we don't want the Rangers to be the Rangers anymore?
And it might be a lot of pressure to it. It's just being overshadowed by the Redskins right now.
Yeah, and that's true. That is exactly what's going on right now. So anyway, yeah, that's an interesting topic, and we'll have to keep an eye on the Redskins, see what they do, and the Indians because I think the Indians are going to change their name. It's just a matter of time and to see what they change it to. That will be interesting. So we're going to switch topics for a minute, and we're going to talk a little bit more about COVID because this is what we talk about, and it's the thing that dominates all of these restarts of these leagues. And so we're going to talk about the NBA for just a minute. They're still planning on coming back in their little bubble down in Orlando. They've had testing already. There are players that have tested positive. There are opt-outs who said, I'm not coming because I don't want to risk it, or I got other things to do that I want to take care of, and this is the opportunity. Or they're making a statement maybe, about social injustice or whatever it is they want to make a statement about. But players will be permitted to voluntarily opt out of the restart for any reason without facing a fine or suspension from the NBA or their respective teams. That comes straight from the NBA's restart rules. The list of opt-outs right now includes Trevor Ariza from Portland,
Boo.
Avery Bradley from the Lakers, Davis Bertrands from the Washington Wizards, Willie Cauley-Stein from the Mavericks, Wilson Chandler from the Nets, Thabo Cephalosha from Houston from the Rockets, and DeAndre Jordan of the Nets. He did test positive for COVID-19. He will not be participating in the restart. None of these names are huge. So, I mean, let's be honest. And the Nets were in bad shape anyway because half their team was hurt and decided not to play. I mean, Kyrie Irving's not playing,
Yeah.
and Kevin Durant's not playing, and I mean, they're what are they, the fourth seed in the East right now, and they can't they can't
Yeah,
get
they're going to
anything
be hurt.
together. They're gonna hurt. Yeah, I mean they're going to be in and out of the playoffs. Oh, they're actually the 7 right now. They are fighting for that last playoff spot. Technically, they're only a half game ahead of Orlando, but.
They're going to get some young guys some valuable experience.
Yeah, there's going to be some guys getting some playing time, aren't there? That's going to be good for them. I don't know. I think this whole NBA restart plan has been rushed, for lack of a better term. I don't think that it's they're trying to push the product back on the court. I know the players want to play. I know everybody wants to see it. I know that there's TV issues involved. I still think that they're just trying to rush this back out, and you're going to have an issue. It's going to balloon or explode the positive test at some point in time. In my opinion, I just don't think you can keep it from happening when you get those many players in the gym, sweating, breathing hard. You can't put a mask on them. So how do you keep that from being spread if they've got it and they're asymptomatic and you don't know it? Anyway. Or they don't tell anybody that they went out of the bubble and came back, or somehow sneaked in or snuck out, or somebody came in who snuck in, and maybe it wasn't them that got out, but somebody came in who had it and they didn't somehow get tested. Somebody missed them, or I don't know. It's not going to be perfect. You just know it's coming at some point in time. It's just how bad is it going to be?
Yeah. I don't think it's really going to matter what you do. There's no way to prevent it. There's no way to stop it. There's no way to keep it out. Truly, you can do all these little things, but you're going to have to decide now before the season starts if LeBron gets COVID, are you going to keep playing without him? And I think most teams are committing to doing it. They're committing to playing without their stars if they go down. So,
right,
which is really tough.
And you got people like former Trailblazer Lionel Hollins, who's an assistant coach with the Lakers. He's not going to the restart because he's kind of at risk. He's a higher risk. How old is Lionel now?
We've been around the block.
Lionel has, yeah, he's 66. So, he's getting to that age, and there's a lot of that. You'll see a lot of that with the older coaches and staff that they're no longer, in NBA shape. They're turning into old men. So, it's bound to happen to everybody. And so, yeah, I find it interesting. Interesting that they, who's going to choose to stay behind and who's willing to risk it and go anyway. I think that's all in your personal beliefs too about how you feel about the virus, and some of that's politically driven, but we won't get into that. But yeah. I think that it's you're taking a risk. Everybody there's taking a risk of going in, and it may not be you. It may be that that somebody is gonna get it from you because you decided to go. And that's the bigger fear, I think, than for the NBA players. They're all in pretty good shape for the most part. I don't think they're going to have a whole lot of trouble with it if they get it. But if you pass it, if you didn't know you had it for a couple of days and you passed it along to family, yeah, that's going to really be a problem. So I guess we'll see.
Bad if you did that.
Yeah, I guess we're gonna see. That being said, Major League Baseball, right, had 31 players test positive for COVID-19 in the first round of coronavirus testing. The league and the players union announced that on Friday. 7 staff members also tested positive. That 38 positives represent 1.2% of their 3,185 samples that they collected for the first set of results. And if you want to compare that, the NBA on June 26th reported a 5.3% rate of positive tests. They had 16 positives out of 302 players. And the MLS announced a positive rate of 2.7%. They had 18 of 668 on June 28th. I think that's that's going to dominate. You're going to see MLB players who, honestly, let's be honest, the MLB player is probably at less risk of being in contact with anybody than an NBA player. NBA player's got a guy guarding you. There's 10 men real crammed onto a half a court all the time. MLB, they're kind of spread out. So I feel like they can social distance a little better, but I'm not sure that that's helpful. A lot of those people are worried about it. Mike Trout has expressed his doubt that there'll be games in 2020. How do you feel about, Major League Baseball came out and said, hey, we're going to have a 60-game schedule. Here it is. This is what we're going to do. It is exactly what the players union told them they wanted, right? You tell us where to play. And now, how many guys do you think will say, I don't want to play?
I think most of them. I think most of your big guys are just going to walk away from this, be like, no, we're not going to do that.
So,
because you still haven't resolved the money issue.
Yep.
Like it's still not fixed. The problem with all of this was money, and instead you're just like, oh, we're not gonna talk about money right now. We're just gonna play the season. Here's what you guys are gonna play. Go play. It's like, no, this is still a problem for everybody on that side. So they still got to work it out.
It really is, and so you have people like, let's say David Price, pitcher for the Dodgers. Says he's not going to play this year. And then you have the White Sox and the Nationals. They each had 2 players test positive. And then you have things like the Phillies put 4 guys on the injured reserve, on the injured list, and didn't say why. And it makes you wonder maybe it might just be that they didn't want to play. Maybe it's a positive test. Maybe it's who knows what, and they don't want to disclose it. Maybe. I don't know. That seems weird. Maybe they found a loophole and said we don't have to disclose it. We put them on the injured reserve before they go down to Florida, or before they go play baseball games at home. I guess they're all playing at home anyway. It's interesting. Felix Hernandez, another one, notable name, who said he's not going to try and play this year. It's interesting. I think this is going to be it's going to be a tough year, right?
Very tough.
It's going to be a tough year. I think if you get baseball, it's going to be watered down heavily in terms of who is available. I mean, David Price is not, and that's a big time name. That's a big pitcher. To lose it out of your rotation, now that hurts the Dodgers, right? They're going to have to bring up somebody else to fill his shoes. Who are you going to bring up? Because nobody's been pitching. Minor league baseball is canceled. How do you fill those roster spots with players?
It's going to give some new guys real good opportunities in the league.
Yeah, it is, and I just feel like the problem you're going to run into is those rookies, those guys that you would pull up that would be playing baseball in the minor leagues right now, and you have a guy who's been playing baseball all year long to pull into your team. He hasn't been playing baseball all year long. So
yeah, and he forgot how to pitch because of it.
Maybe, or hit. Who knows? I don't know, but I feel like this is going to be. It's going to be interesting to watch baseball try and come back. I don't know that they're going to be able to do it effectively. I don't know. I don't know. What do I know? I'm not there. Maybe they've got it all figured out. Maybe baseball is one of those sports that can do this. But I think that the animosity between the players and the league, the owners, I think that's not going away. You're going to have that become an excuse to say, "Oh, I'm afraid of COVID. I'm afraid of getting the coronavirus, so I'm not going to go," because you're angry at the owners and you just don't want to play baseball. Maybe. It's interesting. So Mike Trout expressed his concern over testing positive. He has a pregnant wife who's only a month away from delivering their first child, and so that's probably where he's coming from in terms of, hey, maybe I don't really want to do this because what if I give it to her? It's you can't fault him for thinking that way.
No, and you can't fault anybody for being concerned with their health during this time. What you can fault them for, though, is if you're concerned with your health, then don't play. Just don't play. If you're concerned with your family's health, don't play. If you're concerned with your friend's health, don't play. It's that simple. If you go out and play, then you're making a statement that you're not concerned with health. Don't change your mind later though.
Yeah.
Like once you get the positive test, you're going to be bounced out of the league, but don't change your mind later. If you're worried, be worried and have that worry, and I respect it, but don't start playing then.
Yeah, I mean, definitely it's a tough situation for everybody in terms of restarting all of these things because, where the teams play, that's where that's a hot spots. Florida, Arizona, California, Texas. That's 10 Major League Baseball teams in those 4 states. So those guys playing at home, if you're a team from, I don't know, Detroit, right, where it's maybe not hot right now, and you got to go travel to LA to go play where it is a big deal. That's a big deal. I mean, I think that
it's really important to close off your team. That
I
really close them off.
I think the traveling aspect is a big deal. It's funny because I was upset at the NBA and their bubble idea, thinking that was just it's stupid. You guys are not going to be able to control the bubble. You're not going to be able to control the people. But I feel like that's better than everybody playing at home and people traveling back and forth, right? And possibly spreading it from state to state, right? At least if it was positive there in Florida at Orlando at your facility, you're in the bubble. They could quarantine them somewhere, and not let it out. I don't know. It's weird. I don't know what to think now.
But the thing is that everyone's trying to take it and break it down and find the flaws in it. And there's going to be, it doesn't matter what the only thing that there is no flaw in is doing nothing. Stay home and don't do anything. But are your players actually going to stay home? Probably not. And if they're going to go out and catch COVID, then you might as well have them catch it playing the sport and making you money.
Yeah.
This is from an ownership standpoint, from a league standpoint.
It'll be interesting to watch this whole thing play out and see where we go, because it's, right now the women's soccer league is the only thing playing, and the men's, the MLS is supposed to start on Wednesday, the cup, and I was really looking forward to that. I really wanted to see it, and hopefully it's going to go off without a hitch, and I'd really like to see all the sports come back and watch games. I mean, that's what we do. We watch sports. But
we got a couple weeks till the NBA starts, right?
Yeah, we got a couple weeks before the NBA starts, and then MLB and NBA will be at the end of the month. And MLB is there. That's another concern, is that a lot of these players think that they're rushing them into a training camp, to get them ready because they want to play games by a certain day. And if you rush that, then the logistics aren't in place to keep everyone safe. The protocol is not there, but we'll see. I guess we'll find out, right? Anyway, hopefully everybody stays safe and everyone, doesn't get sick. We don't want that, and we'd like to see baseball continue. And I wish that they would all just get along in Major League Baseball and sign a real deal and just play baseball and play because we love the game and stop fighting over money. And anyway, that's just me. That's my rant for the day. So I'm allowed one, right?
Everyone gets one.
Everybody gets one. All right. So that being said, I want to play one more clip for you. This last clip is a notable from July the 4th, 1983. Dave Righetti is throwing a no-hitter against the Boston Red Sox. Let me play the clip for you here real quick. Here's the call on the last out.
On the threshold of making history here at Yankee Stadium. He sets the kick and the pitch. He struck him out. Righetti has pitched a no-hitter. Dave Righetti has pitched a no-hitter.
So that was Dave Righetti throwing the last strike to strike out Wade Boggs of the Boston Red Sox, July 4th, 1983. It was the first Yankee no-hitter since Don Larson's perfect game in the 56 World Series. So, 27 years. And it was the first by a Yankees left-hander since 1917. Wade Boggs. Yeah, and Wade Boggs, in case no one knows, is not an easy man to strike out. That is someone.
He's also not an easy man to outdrink.
Well, no, or out. What's the word? Out eat chicken, I guess. I don't. What's the word? Eat. You can't eat more chicken.
Out eat.
Out eat. Yeah.
Out eat. That seems wrong.
Fried chicken. He eats fried chicken. I eat fried chicken for everything. Anyway, so Wade.
Guy.
Yeah, he's a but that man's what? Wade Boggs is a 330-something career hitter, and he is one of the fewest, highest, let's say, walk to strikeout average, because he has such a good eye at the plate, and he just didn't strike out. You don't strike out Wade Boggs very often. And anyway, that was the last out of that game. And like I said, first no hitter by a left-hander for the Yankees in 66 years. Fairly large deal. It was pretty exciting.
Hey,
yeah,
I could do it.
You can do it. You can no hit the Red Sox.
Maybe.
So, yeah, maybe. All right, so we want to talk about one more thing. We got one more thing to talk about, don't we?
Oh, yeah.
And that is little pet topic that we're going to talk about, which is players we love to hate. Could be from any sport, could be anybody. And we're going to go through a few players here. I'm going to let you go first and tell me a player
Okay.
that you love to hate, and tell me why, because it's important to know why. I'm going to put it in context, not just, I don't like
Right.
his name starts with a B.
Hey, you know what? If you don't like bees,
That's true.
it'd be like that.
It's a good point.
The first player I love to hate,
Mhm.
love to hate this guy, Vontez Perfect. His name starts with a B. I cannot stand Vontez Perfect. He was committing penalties on my Ducks back in the day, and then he makes his way into the league, and of course he goes AFC like I knew he was going to, and then he starts committing penalties on all the people and players and teams that I like in the NFL. He practically killed Antonio Brown. He's the reason Antonio Brown is crazy. He's nailed that dude in the head and scrambled his brain.
Yeah, I mean,
Antonio Brown is mentally unstable because of what Vontez Burfict did for him, and he seems unapologetic about it. And I get it; he comes from a different time of learning how to play and things like that. I'm sure he was raised to play very hard knock football and take him out, get him out of the game. But man, this guy is a jerk. I just want to get rid of this guy, man. And he won't go away. He keeps getting suspended and coming back and getting suspended and coming back. Right now, he's got a pending appeal to get back in the league, and they're going to let him back in because it's no fun without being able to hate Vontez Perfect.
Yeah, Vontez Burfict is one of the most penalized players in NFL history. First of all, and yeah, he was doing the cheap shots back at Arizona State when he was a player there. It's interesting. I don't have necessarily a hate for Vontez Burfict, but I do not like the way he plays. I'll admit that, and I think
I don't like it when he hurts my guys.
right, and he doesn't really seem to ever have any remorse or change. He just keeps doing it. So,
And he's one that I temper how good he is
right.
with his ability to disrupt. And his ability to disrupt is based on the way he plays, which is generally speaking illegal in the league. So I'm not sure how good he is really without if he had to play heads up football, proper form tackling, shoulders only. If he had to play that way, I'm not sure if he'd have had as long of a career as he's had.
So he's 29 years old. He received 13 suspensions and fines in 7 seasons with the Cincinnati Bengals, and he signed with the Raiders as a free agent this offseason.
Of course he's going to the Raiders.
2 of the suspensions were for illegal hits totaling 6 games. He appealed a 5-game suspension in 2017 down to a 3-game suspension. I mean, he still got suspended. He also had a performance-enhancing drug suspension of 4 games, by the way, because he needed extra help to get that extra hit in.
That's why Antonio Brown is dead. Because of that juice.
Right. Yeah. I agree with you. I'm not going to say that I hate the guy, but I do definitely not a big fan of his particular brand of football. Let's call it that. Right. So yeah, he was. When he got picked up by the Raiders, they literally named him a team captain.
Oh, he's going to kill my Broncos.
How do you feel about that? So yeah,
he's going to murder Portland Side.
Yeah,
Portland Side's going to be doing a crossing route, and he's going to murder our number 1 wide receiver.
2 times this season, he's going to play him, and you got to look forward to that, right? So Vontez Burfict is a good one. I'm going to give you one, and not for that reason that you have, but I'm my number 1 is going to be Tom Brady, and I'll tell you what.
Oh, Tom Brady is a cheetah.
He's a cheetah, yeah. And
cheetah.
and I've probably said this before, but I'm a Dolphins fan, and he plays against the Dolphins every year, and they beat him mercilessly every year. And I am tired of watching Tom Brady win. I'll be honest. I get tired of watching somebody win, and he seems so smug about the world, and I'm like, okay, so Deflate Gate or Spy Gate or whatever gate you want to name, he's had them all.
Yeah.
And it should absolutely have been, it should be an offensive foul when he initiates contact into somebody, and they never call it, and they let him go to the free throw line, and he scores, 30-some points a game because he shoots 100 free throws. Well, that's not basketball. That's not the way it's supposed to be. He's found this little gray area, and the referees let him get away with it, and so
That's right.
he just uses it to his advantage, which is smart. But I don't
Just
like it.
lives in that gray area.
I just don't like it.
Yeah, I can't stand guys that do that.
Yeah, I mean,
It's trash basketball.
you're good enough already to play. Just play. Don't be don't be that guy.
And we know he's good enough to be better than that.
Right, dribble down the floor and then make a sidestep to your right so you're in front of somebody and they hit you from behind. That is, come on,
Right.
contact, not me. I'm running straight down the court. I should be able to do that. But anyway,
Totally agree.
so there you go. So what else you got?
Oh, we should wrap up the what's it called question, the trivia question.
We got to do the trivia. Oh, are we done with Bergen? Was the new first baseman for the New York Yankees. So that was the end of the 2,130 games that
I'm back.
Lou Gehrig played. The end of his. So did you hear the answer? I know you're cutting in and out. I know we're having some technical issues.
No, I did not. What was it?
So did you have an answer? Did you have a guess?
No. I was gonna say Babe Ruth, but I didn't know if Babe Ruth played first base.
No. So the player Wally Pipp was the first baseman that he replaced. Wally Pipp played from 1913 to 1928 on numerous teams, but yeah, he replaced him on June 2nd, 1925. And then on May 2nd, 1939, Babe Dahlgren was the new first baseman for the New York Yankees win.
I got Babe right.
Yeah, you were part right. Yeah, kind of. Thank our sponsors, The Range in Yakima, Boss Kitty Yarns, and Stone Wine Estates in Hood River. This has been a Brain Rock production, a division of Lonely Tree Media. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you all next week.